Hi, Marley. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness, Marley. I definitely feel like moms put so much pressure on themselves, especially once they have a baby, because it's like, I saw this one thing, I think it was on Threads. It was saying, like, oh my gosh, I just had a baby. I'm so strong and amazing. And then someone comments back, and then they wrote as like a funny thing, which is not funny at all. Yeah, but are you hot yet? And I'm
Oh
like, why
no,
do moms get
no.
so much pressure to be like just everything? So I am really
Ah,
looking forward to talking real with you
yes.
about taking care of ourselves in the right way and finding that balance. I know that balance is like a tricky word because there is almost no balance, but just
Right.
really getting a better understanding of finding our strength in motherhood. So, before we get
hmm
started on all of this, Marley, please tell us about yourself, your background, and how you ended up where you are today.
Okay, thank you. So, like you said, my name is Marlie. I am from Toronto, Canada. I am a mom of two girls, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I'm a full-time content creator and fitness coach with an app for moms in the health and fitness space. So, I guess I got here today, but way back when I was in a corporate job. Funny enough, so I was in a corporate real estate job working 9 to 5. And that's how I started Instagram. That's how I became a content creator. And that's actually how I became passionate about health and fitness. It was sitting in my job all day, feeling sluggish, tired. How do I get in shape? I was in my early 20s. I just was feeling so unfit and unhealthy. And it was, doing some research and, oh, I should join a gym. Oh, I should eat better. And then implementing those habits and changes. And then all of a sudden being like, wow, I'm a different person. I feel so amazing. My life is changing. I want to tell the whole world about it. I want to do this for a living. How do I do this? And that's really when like Instagram sort of was just up and coming, and content creation wasn't called content creation. It was all new.
Yeah.
And so I got in a little bit early there, and I created my Instagram account, which is called Kale and Crunches. And it was initially, like I said, about how to teach people in a 9 to 5 job how to stay healthy and fit. And from there, it really just transformed as my life transformed. It followed me through my wedding and sharing about getting married and getting fit for the wedding into getting pregnant. And then that's really when everything in my life obviously changed, as it does when you have a baby. But I really, sort of became at odds with like, who is this person who is this trainer and eating kale, who is actually secretly now pregnant and eating bagels and cheese only, and like my body's changing and growing, and how do I reconcile that? So really I shifted into this whole other realm in my reality, and also online, into the pregnancy and postpartum. And I guess everything sort of came full circle to where we are today, where I have an app that speaks to moms about health and fitness in a realistic and sustainable way. And I create content about motherhood in a real nitty gritty, raw way. So that's sort of where we are today.
I love it. So you're not busy at all. No, no.
Not a lot,
Kids,
nothing going on.
all this stuff. Yes, yes. So was it your personal experience, or what was it that made you become so passionate about particularly postpartum fitness, what we're talking about
Yeah.
today?
Oh my gosh. It was the fact that I was just so wrong about what I thought motherhood was going to be. I had all these
Not all of
expectations
us.
about, right? Like I had all these expectations about what it was going to be like bringing my daughter home from the hospital. And this was the Pinterest era online, when everything was like curated and aesthetic and bows and cute shoes and wooden baskets. And then I
Yes.
leaving the hospital and like full on panic attack, still looking 9 months
Oh.
pregnant,
Yes.
bleeding everywhere, terrified out of my life. And I'm like, what? Why did everyone lie to me? Like this is not aesthetic. This is
This
not
is not
calm.
cute.
This is not cute. Like I'm freaking out right now. And I felt like everything I had seen online was just a lie. And I
Mm,
sort of was at odds with like, do I show up online or do I tell the truth? Because I can't not tell the truth. Like if I wasn't going to share really what I was going through online, I
mm.
was like, I'm done with this life. I'm done with being a content creator, because this is just doing a disservice to everybody out there. And I just
Yeah.
made the decision basically from day one, like I'm going to share my real authentic struggle postpartum. And
Mhm.
it really changed my life. I mean, I hear all the time that people say to me, like, you really helped me go through that time in my life. But everyone else helped me too, because when I came on and said, I'm very anxious, I'm in pain, I'm struggling, and I had all those DMs come in saying, me too, like that made me feel like what I was going through was actually normal. And I had never seen
Yes.
that online before.
Yeah. And it's so powerful when you realize you're not alone and
Hmm.
that when you're up at 3 in the morning dealing with a newborn and still feeling 6 months pregnant with a belly that feels like jelly and you're
Yep.
bleeding and your hormones are all over the place, but knowing that like, oh my gosh, there's someone else on
Hmm.
this planet who's literally going through the exact same thing, it doesn't feel as bad or scary anymore, right?
Exactly. I used to think that to myself too at 3 in the morning when I would be feeding my kids in the middle of the night. I used to think, I know I'm not the only mom that's doing this exact thing in this exact moment at this exact time right now. And it was
Yes.
comforting.
Yes, because in that moment, you feel so isolated and alone
Yep.
because you kind of are. But at the same time, when you think about it as a global thing, like there are millions of moms who are doing the exact same thing. And it just makes you feel a little bit more connected and realizing like my
Totally.
work is so important still. And this is yes, this is hard, but I can do this because so many other people are doing this too. And we can do this to get, even though we're apart, we're in this together, you know?
Exactly.
I love it. So, new mom life, as we're talking about, so busy to say the least. How do you, Marley, recommend new moms balance that health and fitness into their busy schedules?
Yeah. So, like you said, I mean, we all know the word balance doesn't really exist. Something always has to give. But
Hmm.
really, I think a realistic way to fit health and fitness into your life as a busy mom is to start with your mindset around it, because it's not going to look like it used to. You're not
Right.
going to have the same amount of time, and your values are different. Like, you're not going to value things that you used to do the same way. So, an hour at the gym might be something that was a part of your life before. It might not be the most realistic thing now, but that doesn't mean your workout didn't count. So, I
Right.
always say let's start with our thoughts and our mindset around what fitness looks like and what counts as fitness. Because if you're
Mm.
getting in 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, because that's truly all you can do, maybe still in your pajamas, on the floor of the playroom, no, on the play mat, let's say, not even on your workout mat, that still counts, because something is better than nothing. And I think if you can start with that mindset shift and
Hmm.
just have that trickle into all of the activity you're doing and the fitness you're doing, you'll feel like, okay, it's consistency and it adds up over time, even if it's not my sweatiest workout with tons of equipment and tons of space in a gym.
Yeah. And honestly, with postpartum, and I'm sure you agree with this, it's not like you're supposed to be doing a strenuous workout. Like
No.
you just gave birth. Like
Oh,
let's
yeah.
be a little bit kinder and gentler to our bodies as we heal and slowly build up that strength, right?
It's the most important. Even as myself, who was active throughout my first pregnancy, my second pregnancy was a whole other story, but I was very active in my first pregnancy. I was still training my clients. I was still teaching classes. I
Mhm.
didn't actually start to return to exercise until about 10 weeks postpartum.
Yeah.
That whole idea of like the 6 week clearance is
Hmm.
very arbitrary. But I personally didn't even feel ready to really start like walking until 10 weeks. So, yes, I am all about slow, steady, because you have your whole life to exercise again. There's this
Yeah.
rush to just get back into it. But let's honor what our bodies just went through. Let's give ourselves that time to heal, right? It's
Yes.
like our bodies just went through so much, however, this baby came into this world. So I think
Yes.
that recovery is the most important step in health and
I
fitness.
totally agree. Just listening to your body, not rushing
Mhm.
it. Just because you get the clearance doesn't mean like if you do not feel like your body is ready mentally or physically, like
Exactly.
do what is right for you. So I totally
Hmm.
agree with you. And how can you I want to say, Marley, how can new moms create healthy habits and routines that fit in their lifestyle and busy schedules? Is there a certain habit or a routine that you recommend that's just realistic?
Mhm. Okay, so again, similar to what I said about like how we think about exercise, this idea of routine, I think,
Mhm.
can almost be like a triggering word for new moms, because routine implies that we're doing something the same way all the time or daily. And I think a lot of us, it's human nature to get into this all or nothing mindset. Like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm going to start going to the gym and I'm going to go to the gym every single day. And then you get really into it and then you miss a day and you're like, okay, maybe I'll start again on Monday. or next week or next month or next year, right? Like we fall into
Right.
that trap. But the
Yes.
thing with motherhood is there's no such thing as all or nothing. That all will never exist, right? Our
Right.
schedules aren't our own anymore. Our time is not our own. There's always something that is going to come up. Let's get real. That's just the way it is. So if you rely on that all or nothing piece, like it's just going to be nothing,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah,
again,
most
it's
of the
back
time.
to this mindset shift around, let's not call it a routine, but maybe let's refer to it as a practice or something that we like to do or a tool that we like to lean on. If we can
Mm,
shift that mindset and be like, fitness and health is something that I choose to do when the timing is right and that I can fit in, and we just think of it not as a routine, I think that pressure alleviates a little bit. And then we're
right.
not as hard on ourselves if it's not looking the same every single day.
Yeah. And I feel like we're so strict on our, well, not all of us, obviously. But I know some moms are so strict on a schedule with their baby that
Hmm.
that's then where they're like, okay, if this is the schedule with the baby, then this is the schedule that I'm going to stick with. And sometimes just like babies have regressions and like there's
Yeah,
ebbs and flows with that routine. Like we also have to give ourselves that grace when we're not following that practice like you said, like okay, I want to practice
exactly.
this because this is good for my health and I'm going to feel
Sure.
better mentally, physically, all this stuff, but
Yeah.
like we also need to be, like you said, just realize, take it one day at a time. It's kind of like, do you believe in like the 80-20 or no? What is your thought?
I think it makes sense, but I think sometimes it's gonna be 20/80 the other way, especially
Yeah.
in the thick of motherhood, right? Like, of course, we know, like, 80/20 is the most sustainable way to take care of ourselves, right? Like,
Right.
eat well 80% of the time, indulge here and there. It's not about being perfect, but I think definitely in the earlier days of motherhood, it might look like 20/80 because that's just
Yes.
it's survival mode.
Oh yeah,
So,
it's
I think
like
it
I
really
will be
just
eating
depends
my
on, like,
kids scraps.
exactly. It depends on the season of your life. I think when your kids are a little bit older, it then becomes a little bit easier to be like, okay, I'm going to refocus. I'm going to start to, you know, prepare my own food a little bit more and you have a little bit more time, but it's just about taking it season by season. And like you said, there's regressions with, our kids' routines and sleeps. You might be in a season of great sleep. And that's where I'm personally like, I'm getting up in the morning before my kids, I'm exercising and everything's great. And then before I know it, they're back to no sleeping again. And I'm like, okay, I'm back in this season. So those practices I was doing before and I loved and made me feel great, they'll come again. But again, it's
Exactly.
really all just like it is mindset work at the end of the day, right?
It's so true. That is the biggest thing. Oh, Marley, you said it. It's really our minds. And
Hmm.
I think that we can convince ourselves, "Oh, I'm so tired. Do you like how do you motivate yourself when you're so tired to like still do it?" Because it really is mind over matter because that's
Yeah.
what I have learned. I've been going on this health and wellness journey for myself over like a year and a half now, and I have realized I'll never necessarily want to do these things, but it makes me feel good afterwards. I have good results afterwards, like, I
Yeah.
have more energy, all these kinda things, but I have to tell my mind, like, "No,
Yeah.
this is just our routine. This is" or
Mhm.
sorry, routine, my practice.
Yeah. That's
You
okay.
know? So, but,
Yeah.
like, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
I think my thoughts on motivation are that we can't wait for it to come. It's never going to come.
Right.
Like you said, especially at 5 in the morning, like my body's not going to, and my mind is not going to be motivated to jump out of bed. Even if
Thank
my
you.
kids slept at night, I'm not going to be excited to get up early in the morning ever, period. So
Yeah.
what I say is, let's take action and the motivation will follow. So what can that
Yeah.
look like practically? Let's say you feel great after your workout, but you're so not in the mood to work out because who is ever in the mood to work out? If
Yeah.
you tell yourself, I'm going to do 5 minutes, I'm going to take action for 5 minutes. And if I don't feel like doing it after, I'll let myself stop today. 90% of the time, you're going to want to continue, right? It's just about getting
Yes.
started. The motivation
Yes.
comes after you start exercising, the blood starts flowing, the endorphins start kicking in. Then that's where the motivation comes. But you have to take the action first. So it could be as simple as like rolling out your mat, hitting play on a workout and saying 5 minutes, right? Or filling up a glass of water and saying, I'll drink half of it. Take that action first, the motivation will follow.
Such a great tip, Marley. Love that one. Oh man, so good. So, speaking of tips, what are your top tips for how to get back into working out after baby?
Okay, so first you need to find something that you love because, like we just
Mm,
said, motivation. It's never going to be there, especially in those early days. And I really, truly, in the depths of my soul, feel that there is something out there within the realm of fitness that everyone will love. And literally tried everything. Like back in the day when I was just getting started, I literally did one of those dancing. I don't know if you remember this, like kangaroo fitness classes, the cardio classes where you're on
Love that.
springs. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I wish social media was a thing back then because that would have been the content we all need to see. I danced or like, but I tried everything because I'm like, I was never the person that went to the gym. I went to a gym before in high school, college, nothing. I wasn't an athlete. Like fitness and being active really wasn't a part of my life.
Mhm.
So I felt like I have to try and find something I like. And I found a couple things. I loved spinning, I loved strength training, but I tried it all. So if you're like not if you're dreading your workout at the end of the day, you're not going to do it. So even if it's walking and listening to your favorite podcast or, your favorite album of music that you like you have to just not necessarily be excited to do it, but you have to enjoy it while you're doing it because the more you are the more you're dreading it, the less likely you're going to do it. So that is my number
Right.
one tip when it comes to starting a health and fitness routine. And then I would say find some sort of accountability, whether it's, doing an app that has a challenge or signing up for a class that you pay for. Can there be a little bit of accountability there where you're not just holding your own self to it? Can it be finding a
Mhm.
workout buddy, telling your friend you're going to meet them for a walk or meet them at a studio? Like if you're just telling yourself, okay, I'm going to do this on Monday, what's holding you accountable for real?
Yeah.
Right? Like who's holding you to these standards? Who's holding you to this timeline? No one and nothing. And nothing bad's going to happen if you don't do it. You just
Right.
might feel worse about yourself. So can you create some sort of accountability there that will actually hold you to it?
Yes. Yes. It's true. Oh my goodness. Trying to do my workouts, I'm like, okay, I will do this. But because I meet with my trainer every other Friday, she's gonna see if I've
Mhm,
been slacking or not. And I'm like,
mhm.
well, I got to do this for Jordan. If I don't do it,
Yeah,
she's gonna get mad at me. But then
exactly.
I reap the rewards after because, like, I'm feeling so much better. I'm seeing results. I feel stronger. I mean,
Mhm.
so at the end of the day, you may resent your your accountability partner, but then you're just so grateful because then you're like, oh yes. So, but I love that idea. Not everyone can do like a trainer. Um, Obviously, they can check out your app too,
Yeah,
Marley, and
sure.
but also just finding, like, a mom friend and saying, like, "Hey,
Mhm.
do you wanna start doing daily walks together?" And chat that way. Then that way, you're pushing the stroller with your baby, getting some fresh air, but also moving
Totally.
your body, you know?
Yeah. Exactly, exactly. Just find that accountability partner, that mom friend, someone to do it with, someone to hold you accountable.
I love it, I love it. Okay, and how can you share just a bit about your postpartum journey? Because I know that you said that your first one was very different than your second one, so now I
Yeah.
need to know more.
Okay, we'll go into it. So, like I said, my first one was a complete shock, and I was someone who was familiar and like what I thought was familiar with babies. My sister had twin boys, and I was very involved as an auntie, and I was like, "I got this. Oh, I know how to change diapers. Like, I know what I'm doing." Right? Like, you think in this delusional world that you're like ready for this, but really nothing can prepare you. So I went in feeling prepared and I felt like I was just knocked off my feet. They were like, "Nope, you don't have this at all." And that was because my delivery was tougher than I thought it was going to be.
Mhm.
Um, my recovery was much harder than I anticipated because I didn't know any better. And I had a lot of anxiety. I really, really struggled with anxiety in my first postpartum experience. So it looked like a lot of, like panic attacks. And I mean, I didn't also have a very sleepy newborn. I mean, most don't, but I was like definitely not one of those people that had, oh, they just sleep, right? Breastfeeding was really hard and painful for me. So it
Mhm.
was really like I had a healthy baby. I mean, everything was okay, but I still wasn't okay. And then there was
Mhm.
also that guilt piece there. Like I felt guilty that I was really struggling and having a hard time. And I felt like, what's wrong with me? If like everything is technically okay, right? But I'm not okay. So there was a lot to reconcile with there. I had to, I sought therapy eventually for my anxiety. I really had to dig deep and figure out like how am I going to get through this. I leaned on my husband a lot, and just felt like was always honest and open at when I felt like I was getting panicky and anxious. So like that really feels like it sums up my fourth trimester.
Mhm.
it was not rainbows and butterflies. It was like quite dark and scary for me.
And you said that I appreciate you sharing that story, and you said that you just weren't prepared and you didn't know. Like, what do you wish you could have told yourself then to
Hmm.
feel a little bit more prepared now that you've
Hmm.
gone through it? You're on, the other side.
Yeah. I would have, it's a funny question because in some ways, I understand why people aren't saying these things to you when you're pregnant. It's a really exciting time in someone's life. You don't want to scare anyone, right? There's like this fine balance and like how much do you want to let them know and how much do you want to let them figure it out on their own? And I
Yeah.
still don't actually know the answer to that. What I think I would have told myself is it's going to be hard and it's going to be dark and scary, but you're going to be okay. And like the things you're thinking and feeling are normal and common. Like I had a lot of intrusive thoughts, which were really triggering for me because then I thought something was wrong with me. I had a lot of
Mm.
thoughts about like when I was pushing my stroller and walking down the street and just like imagining us getting hit by a car, like very common, not that they're not just because they're common doesn't mean they're not scary and horrible, but like very common intrusive thoughts that I thought was making me a bad mom because who would
Mm.
ever say those things out loud, let alone online to hundreds of thousands of people?
Right.
So I would have told myself like you might have these types of thoughts. They don't make you a bad mom. They don't make you a crazy person. There's nothing wrong with you. And they're going to be scary in the moment, but you're going to be okay. And lots of
Yes.
moms are feeling what you're feeling and you're going to be okay. And I know you can't see the light right now, but I promise it's there and you're going to be okay.
Oh, thank you for saying that. And you're so right. Postpartum Support International, which is a great organization that really helps with educating women about and people about postpartum mental health disorders.
Hmm.
They have this whole hashtag about scary thoughts, and
Yes.
it's normalizing that scary thoughts totally are normal and common. But once they start affecting your day to day
Hmm.
and having a negative effect that you're unable to leave your house, you're unable to do normal things, that's when you need to really seek help. But
Right.
I'm so glad, Marley, that you knew to like go to a therapist and talk to someone because I think so many moms are afraid to talk
Hmm.
to somebody when they feel like, oh my gosh, is there something wrong with me? Am I a bad mom? I can't share this with other people. Like, I'm so glad that you did that. And you're such a strong mom for doing that.
Thank
So,
you.
like, how amazing. And thank you for sharing that because I think more moms who are pregnant or just new moms listening to this episode need to realize that, oh my goodness, thinking those things while they are scary, you know, I can get through this. This is just
Hmm.
a thought, and that's
Yep.
all it is. It's a thought, and I don't have
Exactly.
to live that thought?
Exactly. It's just a thought and sort of similar to anxiety. Like it's going to pop up. You can be like, hey, thought, we're not going to do that today. Like we're just going to push you aside, acknowledge that it's there. It's not the same that you're ignoring it, but you're just like,
Right.
this isn't necessarily my reality. My therapist taught me
Yes.
put your thoughts on trial. Like, is this actually true? Is this actual factual? And
Yes.
yeah,
I love that. Great, great tips and so raw and real. We love that because it just lets us know that what we're experiencing is also what other moms are experiencing. So,
hmm.
Marley, did your perspective, on health and self-care then change after having your first baby?
Absolutely. And I think it changed in pregnancy, really, because especially coming
Really?
from someone who was a trainer, and whether you're a trainer or not, I think this can apply to a lot of people. I think my relationship with health and fitness and exercise was more about like my appearance, especially in my younger life, in my early 20s, late 20s. Like it was like working out for the six pack, eating salad for the six pack, right? Like always trying to achieve
Totally.
this standard look. And when I became pregnant, I was still exercising and still trying to eat as well as possible, but my body was changing in like the opposite direction of a six pack. And it was sort of dealing with like understanding that exercise is still so important and valuable and pivotal, but it's not going to be about a certain look you're trying to achieve. And that's really when my relationship with exercise changed because I didn't want to stop exercising just because I wasn't eventually going to strive for that six pack in 9 months from now. It was about, wow, I'm really taking care of my mental health. I'm taking care of my energy. I'm fueling
Mhm.
myself. And I really learned what I now preach, which is like exercise is a form of self-care. Movement is our medicine, and it
Mhm.
doesn't we can take the conversation away from our bodies and what we look like. Let's talk about non-scale victories. Let's talk about
Yes.
our energy. Let's talk about our digestion. Let's talk about getting less headaches. Let's talk about, you know, our emotions. Like let's just it doesn't need to be about the body and like what we look like.
Yes, because honestly, like, your dress size is the least interesting thing about you. Like, it
That's right.
really is. So, I love how you're saying, "Let's talk about the other things," because moving our body and feeding our body well, nourishing our body, that's what's going to make these other parts of us shine. And so, these are so good. Marley, golden. Love this. Oh my gosh. And what are some of your favorite types of workouts or exercises for new moms?
I love, well, for new moms, I would say definitely you want to start slower, steadier. We have a program called Restore Your Core in my app. It's a 6 week program that is so gentle. So I'm all about reconnecting to the core. I know you've had amazing pelvic floor physiotherapists on the show as well. So, like, just if you can see a pelvic health therapist, that's always a great place to start. Just
Mhm.
make sure that, you want to work back on that foundation. So, that could be just breathing techniques, really gentle exercises, things like cat cows and bird dogs and almost more like gentle Pilates is a great place to start. But then as you start to get stronger and that foundation is there, I personally love strength training, resistance training, and weightlifting. I always say these kids are not getting any lighter. So if you
No, they
want to
are
be able
not.
to move functionally and well, like I'm all about training to move functionally and well. You can bend down, stand back up, reach for things above your head, lift things up, and just feel really good and strong without injury. And it's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about aging well because none of us are getting any younger, right? So how can we train and move so that we live longer and just better and functionally well lives?
It's so true. I was watching a video of like this 90-year-old woman and she's still like carrying her groceries up the
Yes.
stairs and she's like it's just because I've moved my body, like because I garden, because I do all of these things, I'm still
Yes.
able to live my normal day-to-day life, and that's
Exactly.
that's
That's the
proof.
goal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ugh, so true. So, what are those
Yeah.
workouts? You're saying start slow. That's a great
Hmm.
option. But then you were going to
Yeah.
say, oh, now once you've kind of progressed a little bit,
Right.
what are the
So
exercises that you recommend?
so I do a lot of circuit workouts. So I'll do these short, first of all, short and effective, most important because you
Yes.
don't have a lot of time. But anywhere from, doing full body workouts where you might be doing some bicep curls and shoulder presses into some squats, into some core. So really like foundational compound movements with some weights is for me like my favorite type. But I always try and make it fun and exciting and change it up and little circuits here and there. I'm all about making it as fun as possible in my
Yes.
classes.
And we love that hey, it's
Yeah,
still effective even though, hey, I got 15 minutes right now,
that's right.
Marley, and then
Yep,
I will do another 15 minutes hopefully later during nap time. Like you fit it in when you can, right?
exactly, exactly. That's right.
Oh my gosh. And how do you recommend we talked about motivation, but how
Mhm.
do you recommend that moms stay motivated to continue their fitness journeys amidst the demands of motherhood?
I think signing up for either a challenge or a community where there's other moms doing it with you is the best way to do it. And you think about your day to day with a new mom. There's always that one mom friend who you're like on the same feeding schedule with and nap schedule with, right? You're all kind of always just like, are we doing this walk today? Or are we doing a stroller nap today? Is it a car nap day? Like, if you can find someone like that to also fit your workouts in with, that just makes it more fun. I'm all about community and doing it together because, again, we can't sit around and wait for that motivation to happen. Can we find a
Mhm.
community of like minded moms to also get on this health and fitness journey with?
Yes, yes, because you're right. You're much more likely to show up when you are meeting up with a friend than just doing it for yourself because you're like, oh, well,
Exactly.
so and so is going to be there. I have to do this. And then you're doing it together. You're having also the loneliness epidemic that's happening right
Mm,
now is
yeah.
real. And we need to reach out to one another. We need to create our own villages and just reaching out and saying, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this with me?" If they say no, find someone else. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, is that you don't have to have this long laundry list of, I need to start working out, I need to start doing this. Find other people that can join you, like you said, because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I feel like we try to do all of these things and then we look back and we're like, gosh, I haven't connected with anybody today. And so being able to do that together, I think, can be so powerful. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think motherhood is the loneliest. It's funny because you're
Mhm.
never alone, right? Especially
Right.
on mat leave or if you're a stay-at-home mom. Like you're never really alone. Like you're touched out. You're always having these
Mhm.
little ones crawling on you and with you. You're never technically alone, but and then you're just never felt lonelier in your entire life because we're not having adult conversations. We're not connecting. We're on our phones, right? So I think,
Mhm.
like, can we use social media for the better by connecting with new moms, by reaching out? Yeah, I absolutely agree. This, get out of our comfort zones and just get off our screens and, put yourself out there.
It's so true. Oh my gosh. And you're talking about screens and connecting on social media, but I feel like,
Yeah.
is this just me? But is social media getting meaner? Like, is it a good space? Like, is what are your thoughts? Sharing your
Oh my
life,
gosh.
doing all of this,
Yeah.
like, what is all of that about?
I never really had the trolls until I became a parent, which is so
Isn't that
sad because
funny
I'm
and
all about, like,
horrible?
mom supporting moms. It is horrible, but I think it is getting meaner. Yeah, I would agree it's getting meaner, but also it's like we have to remember that the people that are saying these things and commenting, like, most of the time they're just projecting, their own
Mhm.
insecurities and their own issues. And, like, I always think to myself, would I ever be friends with the troll in real life? Like, would you ever actually say that to me in
Right.
real life? Probably not.
Right.
But the mom trolls are, it's so unfortunate. Like, why the moms? Come on.
I
It's hard enough as it is.
But I have this theory that maybe it's happening because we are lonely. Like, if
Yeah.
we weren't so lonely and
Mm,
we actually had a group of women, of mothers, that we could all be together, like, we wouldn't be so upset
yeah.
and feeling down, and you do project kind of how you're
Yeah.
feeling, and I feel like if we could just come to come together in our communities, support one another, I
Mhm.
feel like that love would also exude through social media more.
Yes.
Because I really do think that people are more upset on social media because they're just more upset with how, isolated and lonely things feel
Mm.
today. I don't know. What do you
Yes.
think? Am I
Yes.
crazy for thinking that?
No, I don't think you're crazy at all. I think it's like a post-COVID thing, obviously. Like, it's
Yeah.
post-lockdown, isolation. I think, like, people's just, like, social behaviors have changed and, are it's yeah. Like, it's funny. I feel the phones are obviously, I wouldn't be here speaking to you today if I didn't have an iPhone and social media, but at the same time, there's pros
Pluses
and
and
cons to
minuses.
it all. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
with anything in life. But yeah, I was like, I have
Exactly.
to ask Marley this because she's in the
Yeah.
thick of
I
it,
do think
so
it's funny, like, the trolls are always, like, about mom stuff, like, about sleep training and feeding, and, like, people have their opinions, and I think they're just really, you know, dogmatic about certain ways of raising their kids and certain ways
yeah,
of doing things, and you never know.
I know, which I mean, I understand, because at the end of the day, really what that's saying is, I want the best for you and your baby, and so
Yeah,
I'm trying
sure.
to say this,
Yeah.
but it's just coming off the
Yeah.
wrong way.
Yes. And then you can also
So
take it the wrong way too when you're hormonal and, like, very
yes,
vulnerable, like, in if you're doing any type of sleep training and you're sharing about that, like, chances are you haven't been sleeping, which is why you're probably seeking some sort of help, right? So it's like
right.
everyone's just really vulnerable and hormonal, and, like, it's a bad
I know.
mix.
It is. Just spread love. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
now, Marley, what are your just like favorite wellness hacks for busy moms? We need to know.
Yeah. Okay, I have a good one that's kind of strange. So I'm one of those people that, like, I want to eat well. I don't have a lot of time. And, you end up ordering, like, Uber Eats or whatever. And it's just, like, not easy to eat well when you're, like, on the go, takeout, you wait too long, you're starving, blood sugar's dropping. You're like, I'll literally eat anything in this moment. So we know meal prepping and meal planning is important, right? But it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. And I think we all get stuck in this idea of, like, meal prep looks like, 5 days a week eating the same thing in those containers with rice, chicken, broccoli, and then
Yes.
we're like, I'm not going to do that. I don't need leftovers for a week. So I used to sort of get intimidated and overwhelmed by this idea of prep too, until I realized that when I'm in the kitchen preparing my kids' foods, which is usually in the morning, making lunches, making them breakfast, why can't I use that as an opportunity to make myself some food for the day too? So, what I've been doing over the last year and a bit, which has been game changing for me, is meal prepping lunches and dinners for like myself and my husband, or healthier things that I want to eat that the whole family's not necessarily going to eat at like 6 or 7 in the morning. I'll make a piece of fish. I'll make hard boiled eggs. This morning I was making at 7 o'clock cauliflower rice, like this like weird dish that I thought of. And my husband comes down. He's like, yeah, this is exactly what I want to smell at 7 in the morning. But I was like, I'm in the kitchen anyway. I'm making Eggos and I'm making eggs and I'm making everyone breakfast. The oven's on anyway. Like I'm at the stove anyway. Why not use this 15 minutes to make myself? And now I have lunch for right after this show. Like I'm good to go. And I think
Exactly.
people don't think about doing things because they're at odd hours. But like if
Yes.
you're in the kitchen anyway,
Mhm.
whether it's 5, 6, 7 a.m., and that oven is on, like, why not throw in some protein for yourself to have that day? Why not throw in some eggs to hard boil to have that day?
Yes. That's so smart, Marley. I love that. And if you're not like, oh, 7 a.m., I'm barely rolling out of bed and just getting the kids ready and whatever, then maybe do it the night before. Like a
Yeah,
lot of
sure.
moms will
Mhm.
prepare their kids lunches the night before.
Yes.
So, but
Yes.
if you're, I love that tip of whether it's the night before or the
Yep.
morning of, if
Yep.
you're in the kitchen, why not just take that additional 15, 20 minutes to also prepare a healthy, well-rounded meal for yourself rather than like, oh,
Mhm.
I need to eat something quick with something
Yeah,
fast that's probably very processed that I can stuff in my mouth
exactly.
for my lunch.
Yeah, like, if you're there anyway, then
Yeah.
don't forget about you too.
Yes. Yes. That's so
Mhm.
smart. And for the people who don't mind probably eating the same things every day, it is
Yeah.
easier to just batch
Yes.
cook. Like just make more
Exactly.
of it because you're already there
Exactly.
and then you won't have to worry about it for the
Yeah,
next
I
couple
could
days.
easily eat the same thing for a week straight, but I get a lot of flack for that. I get a lot of like, "Well, that's just glorified leftovers. I don't want to do one batch of cooking." So, there's ways to do it.
Oh,
I think a very
I'll
easy
take a
way is just to do, yeah,
leftover any day
same.
because
I
I am
prefer
like,
like cold
I'm
out of the fridge. Yeah, same.
I got limited time. I want to
Yeah,
nourish my body, and at
yeah.
least it's not like my kids, bread crust and
Ex
goldfish.
ex
It's better than that.
exactly, exactly. We deserve more than the goldfish scraps.
Such a good hack. I love it. So, and
Mhm.
then Marley, what are your top tips for new moms looking to prioritize themselves and their health?
I know I sound like a broken record, but again, I'm all about just shifting the mindset. And the number one hack or tip is to remember that you matter too and that you're important too. I think there's a huge barrier in exercising in any form of self care for moms, and that's guilt. And that's feeling
Mm,
bad and feeling like there's a million other things that you should be doing that day, whether it's playing with the kids, washing bottles in the sink, answering emails, laundry, whatever it is. There's always going to be something that you can think of that you should be doing before exercise, right? But at the end of the day, if you want to show up as your best self, not only for your kids and your family and your partner, but just for you, like you have to remember that you matter too. And I think that we drop the ball on this as soon as we become parents. So it's this mindset shift. Like you're important, you matter. Same way, like make yourself some food too in the kitchen, right? Like you're allowed to take care of yourself again. And that was something I grappled with a lot after having kids, like feeling guilty about working out all the time. Not that I was working out all the time, but always feeling guilty about working out.
yes.
Hmm.
It reminds me of that quote of it's not saying me first, it's saying me too. Like you matter. It's
Yes.
not you putting yourself first and saying like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I come first before all of these other things." It's just
Yes.
saying like, "No, I deserve to be on my priority list too." You know?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Exactly. So if you can
so
get
true.
into that mindset, then I think we can take the tangible steps, such as like scheduling a workout in. I love this
Mm,
hack. I live and breathe by my calendar, whether like you're working or not. I think as parents, we do become a little bit reliant on like schedules and calendars just because life is busy and hectic. So when you're whatever else you're scheduling in there, put your workout in there too, even if it is
yes.
10 minutes, and try and
Yes.
find that little pocket of time where you can, because chances are if you found us on social media, if you're listening to this on your phone, like chances are you have 10 minutes. right?
Yes.
You probably have 10 minutes
Somewhere you do.
somewhere. Just saying.
10 minutes.
Yeah,
Yes, totally agree. Such a great tip because I think we just get so I don't know about you, but I have this running to-do list in my head of all of the things that I have to do. And yes, you're right. It's the schedule of like, okay, oh, well,
hmm
today's swim, but also it's like they have to wear a certain silly shirt today, and I need to do this, and
yes.
I need to pack this, and it just never ends.
No.
But being able to schedule it in, I even put like my lunch break. I'll put like 30 minutes
Same.
lunch
Thank
break
you. Same.
in my schedule because I'm like, well, I don't want someone to schedule an appointment when I need to be
Yeah,
eating, you know?
exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh, me too. Me too.
So good. Oh my gosh, Marley, this has been so much fun. Do you have any just final thoughts that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Yeah, I just want you to remember that you might be a new mom in the thick of it, and you might feel like you're struggling, you're never going to feel like yourself again, but I just want to remind you that there is light at the end. You might not feel like your old self again. You'll feel like a new self again though, and you will find yourself again. You'll find your new practices, you'll find your new rhythm, and you matter too. So don't forget to take care of yourself.
Ah, beautifully said. Oh my goodness. Marley, thank you so much for your time and
Thank
for sharing your knowledge
you.
with all of this. We so appreciate it. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And for our listeners out there to learn more about Marley, you can find her online on Instagram at Kale and Crunches, and as well as her website, Kale and Crunches, and that's with a K. Kale and
Yes.
Crunches with a K.com.
That's right.
Our team will be posting today's episode on our Baby Chick Facebook and Instagram page at the Baby Chick Chat. So if you have any questions or comments about our discussion, please share them with us in the comment section. And as always, if you haven't already, please subscribe to Chick Chat, the Baby Chick podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and leave us a review. Cheers to finding your strength in motherhood.